Alright guys, so for now I got the stuttering issue and the frame rates to where I want them to be, and the game still looks pretty good. So I'll just go ahead and show you a little bit here. Um, Actually, so I have my graphics card showing me my frames per second up in the top left, but it doesn't look like it's showing that on the video, so we'll go ahead and turn those on for you. Okay, so I'm hitting, 60 to 90 frames per second right now. It's even on a rain level, so a little bit more graphically intense. So I'll just show you a little bit more to see how smooth it is. There's no stuttering at all. Like, if you're familiar with the stuttering effect, you know what I'm talking about. So got rid of that. Got the frames finally up. Because one of the big problems about this game with the settings that you have is even if you're pulling 70, 80, 90 frames, you're still more than likely getting the stuttering effect, which is what my problem was. And I played around with the settings for different combinations for hours before I got it finally working. So I'm going to go ahead and show you those settings here in a second just so you can see how smooth it's running. And it looks pretty good. It doesn't look as great as it could with ray tracing and stuff, but that's just not really an option right now. I'm gonna still play around with it and see if I can get like low setting ray tracing, because I was getting about 60 frames per second with ray tracing, but I was still getting the stuttering effect. So I'm still gonna try to tweak those stuff. But okay, so I think that's enough. Yeah, you got about 80 frames per second solid, almost for a full lap there. So, game looks good. Okay, so here's what I did. So I just went to settings here, obviously basic video. I got my render quality on ultra. That changes to custom anytime you change anything. So one of the big problems I had was the game automatically detected my 4K monitor, and it was automatically putting it to 4K even though my monitor is set at 2K, because I did that for Starfield. So I had to manually adjust that back down to 2K. So just make sure that that matches up with your actual resolution of what your monitor is set at, because it will decide to put whatever it feels like, I guess. I don't really need that anymore because I have my own version up here that you can't see. Okay, so I do NVIDIA DLSS. This is only if you have a NVIDIA card. Obviously, if you have an AMD card, there'll be a different option for you. I did quality. You know, quality makes it look better. Ultra quality makes it look the best. Balanced is right in the middle. Performance makes you have higher frame rates and stuff like that. But I don't want the game looking like crap. So I did quality. I played around with them. That seems to be the best to maintain above 60. Like you saw, I was in the 80s for the most part. Um, I like to be in the 80s because when it does dip down, sometimes it'll dip down to 60 instead of when I'm at 60 and it dips down to 40 or 30. It's a lot more noticeable. So I keep it at quality. Then I go over here to advanced video, dynamic render quality. I got that on ultra. Performance target. This is one of the big ones, 60 frames per second VSync. So um, one of the stuttering things that I've noticed is if you do unlocked, it has a hard time rendering exactly what frames per second it should be. I don't, to be honest, I don't even know what locking in at 60 frames per second does anyway, because as you saw, I was running, in the 80s. So, but that seems to be one of the big fixes for the stuttering. And then the second one is the resolution scale. Make sure that's at 100%, not more or not auto. If it's on auto, sometimes it'll start rendering it at, at 150%, and then sometimes it'll drop it down to 50, 60%. And I've noticed that that is where the big stuttering occurs. All of this, the rest of the stuff is up to you. 16x, that's what I do. It's just the max one. I haven't noticed any sort of performance issues when I've played around with that one, so I just have it on the highest. Ray tracing quality, that's up to you. I got a 3080, and it's not handling it well. So I played around with car reflections and car reflections RTAO. And, you know, I was able to get 60 frames per second for the most part, but it would sometimes drop down to 40 or 30 for a few seconds, and it bothered me enough to just turn it off. Low, this one doesn't matter if you have that off. If you do have it on, you know, turn it on and then play around with this. Maybe put it on low or auto. You know, you can play around with it. But if you want stability, just or unless you got like a 4090 or something, I'd say just go ahead and keep that off. And then everything else I got maxed out on ultra high. I don't like motion blur, and then blends flare doesn't really affect me too much anyway, so I just put that on auto. But yeah, that's what I do for the settings. I will try ray tracing here just for a second, just to see if I can maintain my frames. Like I said, I haven't attempted ray tracing since I locked in the 60 frames per second and made sure that that was at 100%, and then also made sure that that was at quality. So we can try that out here. I'll keep them on low just to see. Okay, so we're still maintaining 80 right now with the ray tracing on low. Um, One thing I've noticed about this game is when I get the settings tweaked perfect, and then the next race it's completely shit. So I don't know if the ray tracing got fully put in or not. So you know what? Let's go ahead and test that out. Let's restart the race and see if that affects it at all. I'll go ahead and put up my frames per second for you guys again. I shouldn't have taken it off. Okay, so I'm already noticing a difference. So I dropped down to 60. Well, we'll see. We'll see when the actual game starts going. Okay, but so far so good with no stuttering. I am dropping under 60. Looks like 58, 59. And I haven't even started racing yet. So okay, so I'm at I'm at a little above 60. No visual stuttering from what I can tell. I'm hitting 68, 70. Okay, so I'm pretty certain I can play on ray tracing low with the settings that I currently have set up. So you should be able to if you have a similar setup or better than mine. I got an i9 and it's a 12th gen i9, and then the 3080 like I said. So yeah, I'm not seeing any stuttering, and the frames per second are maintaining above 60, so yeah, I think that's good. I'm not even going to bother trying to put the ray tracing on high, because I already know what it's going to do. I mean, my computer's just not good enough for it. But this game is poorly optimized, but I don't even know if I'd say that. I'd say that it's just the way that they have the settings for the graphics right out of the box are terrible, and to find a combination that actually works for you and your rig is very hard to play around with. So, you know, just do some trial and error, but I would definitely say the 100% locked in, the 60 frames per second locked in, and then the quality. You know, I'd say those are the ones to go with. But yeah, hopefully that helps some of you guys. I do know that it's kind of a pain in the ass just because how they made the settings and stuff, but hopefully that helps a couple of you, and yeah, have fun.